also because I got vaccinated and there's a microchip in my arm. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Cannata.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens. Jeff just gave me a look that said you can't make that the starter to the episode because not everybody listens to the cold opens and not everybody understands the context of what you're saying.
There's no irony when you just hear the last three words of something.
We're very pro-vaccination here. There is not a microchip in your arm or anybody else's arm, unless you knowingly put a microchip in your arm on your own. If you're one of those biohackers, or if you're a dog. If you're listening and you're a dog, there might be a microchip in your arm, but it's most likely between your shoulders.
But also, become a patron so you can listen to the full context of that conversation.
Yeah, become a patron. It makes me sound less like a monster.
You're missing a lot of context and also Adam's family.
Yeah, if you give me money, I sound like less of a monster. That's not just a rule of the Patreon. That's just a rule that I'm just nicer to people who give me money. Patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. Jeff, this year has been a year of, well, the last 18 months has been 18 months of hardship in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Obviously, you know.
Yes.
Of shortages as well. We've talked a lot about that. We've talked a lot about how...
Where are my game consoles? Where are my NVIDIA cards? You know?
Where are they? We are the ones who are truly suffering.
No one can feel the pain quite as exquisitely as someone searching for a PlayStation 5. You know what I'm saying?
That's the thing. That's the thing is we're mostly worried about the consoles. And... But there are shortages of everything. That's like, it's been very interesting because we don't, you know, in day-to-day life, we don't understand the supply chains and the trade routes and things like that. We know that a lot of our disposable products and a lot of our high-end products as well are manufactured outside of the country and are manufactured using materials that we don't even think about. We know that, but we've really been feeling it in the last year and a half.
Oh, man. As somebody who has been shopping for a new home and dealing with all of the ramifications of moving and changing location, all that stuff, it is crazy how many industries are affected by the change in our life because of the pandemic. The lumber prices have skyrocketed. There's scarcity on all of those materials for building. There's scarcity on moving trucks. There's scarcity. It's everything. It feels like there isn't a segment of life that hasn't been touched by a massive change in the supply chain and availability of labor force because of COVID. Yeah.
And I want to talk about one that our old friend Synergy, Z Mansfield, on the Discord. If you want to join the Discord, patreon.com/wehaveconcerns, sent this in talking about a segment that I didn't think about, but probably should have been one of the first segments of industry and of the world that we did think about during this. And that is, Jeff, we are running out of monkeys to do science experiments on.
We're running out of monkeys?
Jeff, there's a shortage of monkeys to do horrible experiments on.
But we need those monkeys because how else will we know if the thing that we're experimenting on will die?
Yeah, that's the thing. And you can't, we don't want to give it to people.
No.
We don't want to give it to people.
No, we're not cruel and heartless. We want to pick something that's super close to being a person and give it to that.
We want to give it to an animal with kind eyes and the ability to form lifelong friendships. That's what we want. And this is about
see what happens to it when we start messing with its DNA and stuff,
With its anything. With its anything, really.
Hey, is the reason we're running out of them because we've done too much science on them?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
100%. These are specific monkeys that are made for science.
Oh, boy.
These are some of your favorite monkeys, actually, Jeff. We're talking about the rhesus macaque.
Oh, I love talking about macaque.
I know you do. I'm going to give you I'm going to extend your privileges this week, and I'm going to give you 3. That's your 1, but I'm going to give you 3 because I know how much you love the rhesus macaque.
I do so much. And I appreciate that you're letting me extend macaque.
That's 2.
All right, okay,
Pace
I'm sorry.
yourself.
I don't want to use them
Pace
all up.
yourself,
I don't
buddy.
wanna
It's
use
a
them all
long
up.
show. It's a long show. So just a couple years ago, we were trying to crack down. Well, not crack down, but we were trying to limit the amount of these monkeys we were experimenting on. We were trying to sort of move away from that more and more. Previous administrations had been trying to put into motion a limitation on the types of experiments that you could do on these monkeys because, man, look, we're joking around, but these is cute, smart monkeys.
And they just would limit like the abominations toward nature, the things that would be absolutely horrific
it would be the
to do.
wildest shit. It would be the wildest shit.
Yeah.
Only the wildest shit could be done to these monkeys. We would do stuff to fewer monkeys, but I guarantee it would be worse shit overall.
I'm gonna regret using it up now, but I do want to say that the weirder the thing that you do to macaque, the better.
You really are gonna regret it. It was such an easy one. You could have just left it.
I could have. I can't
coulda
leave
left
low
it.
enough alone. That's the problem, is that I keep
You
poking
keep
and
messing
prodding
with
at
macaque.
it.
Yeah.
Can't leave low enough alone.
No.
Are we describing the kinds of things? Does the article go into what kinds of things
Yeah.
were limited?
I'll tell you what the biggest thing was that we did over the last 18 months was obviously vaccine testing. We needed to test a lot of different vaccines on a lot of different monkeys. And here's the thing about the rhesus macaque. Here's the reason why it is the preferred animal to do horrible shit to. This is why it's voted 4 out of 5 scientists say if you're gonna screw up a monkey, screw up the rhesus macaque.
Is it
And the
because
reason
it's surrounded by peanut butter and chocolate?
it is because not only are they genetically incredibly close to us, there are a couple other primates that are just as close or closer, but the rhesus macaque actually thrives in smaller environments, and it can deal with being in these indoor facilities. Their temperament is such that it doesn't. See, there are so many that you could have used in just this last paragraph.
I'm so mad at the tight confined spaces that...
Yeah. Yeah, you really could have done a lot there.
I used up all my... I get too excited and
That's the thing.
It
Careful.
all happens at
Careful.
the beginning.
Careful. You already had your 3. So the deal is we were trying to limit this, but now we need to actually expand. We need to expand the infrastructure of the U.S. National Primate Research Centers. We actually need to put more money into breeding even more of these monkeys because, Jeff, we're out of them.
We're running out of monkeys.
In 2019, guess how many monkeys we used
Oh, God.
for scientific experiments? Non-human primates in research. Guess how many we used in 2019?
I'm going to say 1,000.
Oh, Jeffrey. Oh, Jeffrey.
I mean, I guess you'd have to have a large-scale test, it would have to be many times more than that, right?
Well, the thing is, you have to do a certain amount of, for anything that could be potentially dangerous to a certain extent to a human being, you have to have a certain amount of animal testing.
Right.
Before you can begin human trials. Otherwise, it's considered inhumane.
How many monkeys did we hurt?
68,257 monkeys.
Oof. That's a lot of monkeys.
We
That's
used
a lot of monkeys that we... But again, this is across... This isn't just like COVID testing or anything, one specific thing. This is across all scientific study.
All scientific study, whether it's a psychological study, whether it is a medical study, whether it is anything, whether it is gene therapy, whatever they're doing to a monkey.
I would love to know comparative numbers on mice. Do you think it's an order of magnitude more mice, or do you think it's sort of in the same wheelhouse?
I think mice is probably, and anybody based on the reading and the studies that I've seen, it looks to me like it goes theoretical to small scale, probably on something like a mouse.
Mm-hmm.
is particularly if it's anything to do with the brain, it'll go to a mouse first. But also some genetic stuff is done on zebrafish. Like it goes to something that's a smaller, more readily available. I don't know, something that doesn't make you cry as much as at night about your life, And then when you get to a point where it's like, oh, this is viable, then you move on to something like primate testing and then human testing.
Yeah. And you would hope that by the time you get to primate testing, your success rate's a little bit better. One would hope.
Yeah, I mean, that's the belief. That's the whole reason, right? Is like, look, when you drill down to it, it's mice don't live very long. They reproduce very quickly. They are inexpensive. If you have to do a certain amount of research, you don't want anything to happen to this monkey. You want, by the time you get to this monkey, you want to inject the monkey and you want the monkey to be totally fine. You've got your fingers crossed, right?
Yeah, you're rooting for that monkey.
You want the monkey to be okay. Like
Nobody's
going in with a weird early draft of an experiment and being like, let's chop up a few monkeys and see where this takes us.
Right.
I mean, maybe some people are.
Some people, but
but they're not. They ain't the best.
Yeah, mice, on the other hand, are like nature's Kleenex, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just disposable. There's always more. You just keep pulling ones out.
You know what I picture is those dispensers where you get coffee beans or granola at the grocery store.
Yeah.
I think a scientist just puts a sack and just turns a crank and a certain amount of mice fall out. Yeah. And sometimes people like they take a couple home just for like their own shit. Their own experiments, and it's like there's a certain amount of that, and you get the lab's got to look the other way, like it happens.
Yeah.
You build that in to the cost of employment.
Yeah, it's just accepted norms of mice loss.
Yeah, there's just a certain amount of mouse shrinkage.
Yeah,
particularly if you're working in the gamma radiation department. Now, something that is
no primate shrinkage, because we wouldn't want to shrink any of the monkeys.
See, I'm going to count that as like a half.
No, I didn't say it.
Because you heavily implied. So here's the deal. We were trying to cut down on the amount of research we do on monkeys over the last few years because people hate it. Like, we hate it.
Well, I mean, with good reason, I would say.
Yeah,
although,
we don't like thinking about these monkeys going through any sort of pain. Like, we know, listen. We watch TV. We know monkey smart. We know monkey lovable. We know that.
Yeah.
Monkey play baseball. Nothing in the rules.
Nothing in the rules that says monkey can't play baseball, except for the fact that it's being used for science.
Yeah,
that's the rule.
Yeah, it's the age old conflict that any young monkey has to figure out, whether they want to go into athletics or the sciences, academia, or do you really think you have a chance? Very few monkeys make it to the big leagues.
Exactly.
You got to be realistic about it.
You gotta really, you can't put all your monkeys in one barrel. You know what I'm saying?
No.
It's a hard thing, right? The morality of this, because ostensibly the goal here is to improve human life, to create medications and all manner of things that actually save human lives, extend human life, do net positive things for our species.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a hierarchy of species. We're at the top. We think we deserve to live longer than everybody else.
But
right?
Yeah, I think I'm better than a monkey. I do. I don't mean to listen.
You know what?
And
Anthony,
me. I'm an animal rights guy. You know I am. And here's the thing.
You are.
Here's the thing. I do believe I'm better than a monkey.
I think you're better than a monkey too.
Thanks,
man.
Man.
Marginally. Yeah.
I think I'm also marginally better than a monkey.
Yeah.
So we were spending the last couple of years trying to cut down on the amount of experiments we can do, trying to cut down on the amount of funding for this stuff. Not only that, but like transferring these monkeys from these research centers to labs, because obviously once you get these monkeys for these experiments, even though they're living in these indoor outdoor sort of monkey communities on these research centers, and they're being treated, very humanely, or as humanely as the law says, you have to transfer them eventually to the lab, right? Because you need a controlled environment. And over the last couple of years, because of backlash, public backlash, commercial airlines will not allow the transport of lab primates on their planes, most of them. So even getting a monkey to a lab at this point is incredibly complicated because we don't like testing these things. We don't like testing these things on monkeys. It makes us feel bad. And these companies don't want the PR flack that comes from being known as an airline that ships these monkeys off to be experimented on.
Anthony,
and once
I think
COVID
you're overlooking the I think home run movie script that you're just pitching. Chris Pratt as a scientist who has to get a monkey back for testing, and it's Midnight Run meets Going Bananas.
Okay. It's been a while since we've had a monkey road trip movie.
Right?
Yeah.
He's a scientist, all business. He's got to get this monkey back for testing. Could be the monkey that saves the world.
Oh, but this monkey wants to party.
But the thing he did not anticipate is how much this monkey wants to party and how much Chris Pratt falls in love with this monkey along the way.
Yeah.
And by the time
the monkey teaches him. You know what I mean? And he's like, "Oh, I always thought I would learn something important from this monkey, but it wasn't the lesson I thought it would be.
Not love. I thought it would be science, not love.
Friendship.
Yeah. And by the time he arrives at the shadowy facility deep under the earth, he has a change of heart. And those monkeys' big eyes looking at him, glistening and moist. And
I'll tell you
Chris Pratt decides he has to break the monkey out, and that's your third act right there.
I like this because it speaks to a lot of things that are going on right now. The American distrust of science. I think it speaks to that. That's very fun. It speaks to the lack of male friendship.
Yes.
In American culture, the adult male finding a true friend and letting those walls down.
It speaks to America's love affair with Chris Pratt.
Yeah, which is quickly waning as we learn more about Chris Pratt, but that's okay. That's okay. We can get one more monkey road trip movie out of him, I think, before America turns on him entirely.
I think this is a solid gold movie idea.
I think it's a solid gold movie, and we could give like a certain percentage to monkey research.
After we recoup our initial investment and
yeah. I'm talking net, not gross.
Yeah. No back end points to monkey research, but because
the monkeys don't know.
No, the monkeys, they're terrible negotiators, and
I'm smarter than every monkey.
I've said that about you this entire podcast.
Thank you. Just this episode, though.
Yeah, just this one.
So there was we created a potential shortage of these monkeys, and then worldwide outbreak, a need for medical research at an unprecedented speed.
Wow.
And all of a sudden,
perfect storm.
We were out of monkeys, and we were out of ways to get monkeys from places to other places.
Wow, we were the time we needed monkeys most, we created our own monkey scarcity.
We created artificial monkey scarcity. I think the only artificial scarcity that we created that was worse for us in 2019 was the toilet paper thing, which was absolutely stupid, and we can all admit that now. But
completely artificial. And I feel like connected to the monkey thing somehow. I don't really know how, but I just have the feeling in the pit of my stomach that the toilet paper thing and the monkey thing are somehow connected.
We just got to follow the monkey.
Follow the monkey. Yeah.
So we created this shortage, and now new experiments need to be done. We have these vaccines, but we're turning back to doing the experiments that we were doing before. We're looking at doing other good science for the world, and people are calling up these primate research centers, and they're saying, "Hey, man, send me monkey," and they go, "We literally have no monkey, zero monkey."
Wild. So is there a pathway forward?
So the Bend, Oregon Research Center, which is one of the biggest primate research centers in the States, normally has about 5,000 monkeys ready to go. They have none.
Wow.
So what they've been doing is the U.S. government has been giving grants. The National Institute of Health has been giving grants to improve, much like the rest of our infrastructure. We all remember Infrastructure Day and how it turned America around. This is Infrastructure Day for monkey infrastructure. The Biden administration has decided to increase the funding for NPRCs by 27%. That would add $30 million for the centers. We've also, in previous years, the National Institute of Health over the last 2 years has invested an additional $29 million in refurbishing housing, building outdoor enclosures, making infrastructure improvements. But all said and done, we're going to spend about $70 million making sure that we have enough monkeys. Because here's the thing. Somebody from the Division of Program Coordination, Planning, and Strategic Initiatives of the National Institute of Health said, what happens when a pandemic happens again? What happens if there's another virus in 3 years? We want to be ready for that. Because guess what? We're at that point.
Wow, this is wild. I also am sort of still reeling from the fact that there's a giant warehouse in Bend, Oregon that has just monkeys ready for order. You just call it the monkey warehouse. It's not like an
Amazon fulfillment warehouse. Is that what you're picturing?
That's what I'm imagining is a bunch of monkeys waiting to be put into boxes and sent away.
So it's monkeys on shelves, and they're in some sort of small, like, carrier? Is that what you're picturing?
Yeah, like little cages. You know how in every movie about science there's a room with a bunch of monkey cages?
Yes.
That, so but like as large as the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, you know, where the Ark is being held. Yeah.
Now let me ask you this: the forklifts in this warehouse, are they being driven by other monkeys that are in overalls?
Oh, turncoat monkeys.
Well, the monkeys don't know.
I mean, maybe they know a little bit.
I mean, maybe they
not know. You know?
Yeah, maybe these monkeys just they've decided they want that better treatment. You know, they've made their choice. They're monkey traders. Did something like this happen in one of the Planet of the Apes sequels? Because
probably
I didn't watch any of them.
They're good.
The new ones, the James, the Franco, sequels.
They're good. They're real good. It's they got a lot to say. In fact, we could rework our Pratt script into being some sort of like Planet of the Apes prequel thing. I think that could. Yeah, comedy prequel. You know how people love
doing what
comedy
Marvel's
prequels?
doing. We're leaving genre. We're leaving genre behind, and we're making it about character and world.
Yeah, because IP is king right now. You know, I think that really helps our script. I mean, it's good that we have Pratt attached already because I think that helps sell it. But,
in our minds.
But IP, you know, tying it into a major franchise. Yeah, this thing can't lose.
I'm still. Can I tell? This is totally a fucking aside, Jeff. But I'm still mad. That in Jurassic World 2, they didn't give that little girl dinosaur powers.
I know, you bring this up so often, Anthony.
I'm just so mad.
Powers. I know.
They were hinting at it all movie.
Yeah, I know.
That little girl should have grown raptor claws and saved Chris Pratt at the end.
I'm not really sure what dinosaur powers are exactly, you know?
I don't know. They connected laser sights to them. You think Jurassic World 3 isn't going to have a bunch of dinosaurs with jetpacks and like rocket launchers? Because it will.
No,
do you
I have
think
no
it's
hope
not
for
going to be
that movie,
American soldiers riding stegosauruses into battle? Because it will.
Okay, now I'm listening.
That's the promise of Jurassic World.
Yeah, a Jurassic World. I see what you're saying.
That's
Jurassic
the promise
World
of it.
becomes a Jurassic World. I get it.
In the very first movie, what's that dinosaur? New dinosaur. We're making it as weapon. Shit, baby, that's Chekhov's weapon dinosaur. And it's Act 3 right now. Yeah. That little girl should have had fucking dinosaur powers, and Chris Pratt needs to stop riding that motorcycle and start riding a raptor directly.
Doesn't he, at some point, doesn't he ride a raptor directly? Doesn't he get on the back of a dinosaur that he's befriended? I think he does.
What's the name of that dinosaur that he's friends with? You know,
the raptor.
Yeah, it's a raptor, and her name is
Sarah.
Yeah, something like that. But I don't think he did he? Maybe he did, and if he did, he didn't saddle it, which made it a complete waste.
No, you're right. It does need to have a saddle. Yeah, you're right.
And he needs to have a future gun. He needs to be sitting on it, and he needs to have a future gun on his saddle. I just want it to be like a 90s Saturday morning cartoon.
You're describing the Tomorrow War now.
Does he ride a dinosaur in the Tomorrow War?
No, but they're making a sequel, and so anything's
Will he ride a
possible.
dinosaur in the sequel?
Well, I'm hoping that Tomorrow War becomes the Yesterday War for the sequel, and then he can go back and get dinosaurs because they got them. They got time travel in that their movie.
Sure. Boy, I've never had a movie more marketed to me more in the last 10 years that I cared about less. Do you know what I mean? Like the Tomorrow War was just being thrown in my face for weeks. Everywhere I went, it was the Tomorrow War. And I was like, this does not look interesting on any level at all. And it's just being thrown in my face over and over and over, like to an extent that was wild to me.
You know what I've been thinking about a lot lately? It weirdly is I reread a stat that I knew, but it landed on me very differently, and it's been stuck in my head, and I can't stop thinking about it. Is the amount of time that dinosaurs were the major creature on this planet compared to the amount of time that humans have been the major creature on this planet.
Oh, we're on borrowed time, baby.
It dwarfs, like, over the millions of years that the Earth has existed and had life on it. If you did a pie chart of dinosaur time and human time, it looks like Pac-Man. It's like so overwhelmingly dinosaur time.
Yeah.
That if you actually were time traveling, you're more than likely to be going to seeing dinosaurs on Earth than you would humans.
Of course. We're talking about, we're talking about humans. We're talking about 20,000 years, 30,000 years for our ancestors, things like that at most. Yeah. And like 30,000 years is fucking nothing.
The blink of an eye. It's a blink of an eye. And like for millions of years, the dominant, you think about how you're taught about dinosaurs, and you're taught about them like they all like hung out for like a week and a half, and then a meteor killed them. Like when I was a kid, I had
meteor,
this
Flintstones.
Yeah, you feel like there's just this tiny sliver of time where dinosaurs existed, and they all existed at the same time with each other. Like Stegosaurus was hanging out with Brontosaurus, was hanging out with T-Rex, but none of that's true. And like it was a huge swath of time where some of them existed, and then others of them existed, and then others of them existed, and so much longer than primates or Cro-Magnon, anything that resembles us.
Yeah.
Anyway.
People forget how compressed time is. People forget that, like, the last person who saw the assassination of Abraham Lincoln made an appearance to talk about it on television. Like, people forget that.
Yeah. Or
like,
the
life
stat
is
that I
compressed.
saw was that Harriet Tubman and Ronald Reagan were both alive on the same day.
Yeah.
Like
and that day was the day of the Tomorrow War. And there's a part in the Tomorrow War where Chris Pratt looks at Harriet Tubman and Ronald Reagan and is like, "You're gonna have to put your differences aside and suit up, because this is a war for all of our tomorrows, all of ours."
See, this
and,
is why we need to get...
and Ronald Reagan looks at Harriet Tubman and he goes, "Well, I apologize for everything I said." And Harriet Tubman says something in a voice that I'm not gonna do.
Yeah,
but it's very profound.
Very smart of you. Very smart of you. Yeah.
And then they all work together to stop the Tomorrow War. I think that's what the Tomorrow War is, and I refuse to watch the Tomorrow War because it's going to be worse than that.
It needs to be our own script, because this is why you're a gifted writer, Carboni. We need to get on it.
I am better
by that speech
than every monkey. You want to talk about 100 monkeys at 100 typewriters?
Yeah, put 100
one
Carbonis.
Get one Carboni on a typewriter.
Carboni.
I'm better than 100 monkeys on a typewriter, and that's a fact.
That's on your business card.
That's it. Better to hire me than a primate is what I always say, and that's what always gets me the job.
You know what? And to bring it back to the story, we couldn't even get 100 monkeys on 100 typewriters right now because there's a shortage.
There's a shortage, and I'll tell you this: I genuinely. The reason I found this interesting was threefold. Number one, I didn't think about it. It did not occur to me.
No, of course not.
Number two,
Who would?
the sheer number the amount of these monkeys and the infrastructure, the primate infrastructure that there is to do these scientific experiments is something that I had never considered before in my life.
The monkey industrial complex.
And then number 3 is, of course, the thing that I'm always concerned about, and I think we all are on a basic level, is like, how much of this do we allow? What is the amount of good that needs to be done to allow this sort of study and research to continue? And that's something I'm always thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a whole other episode. That is a really tough equation, right? Because at a certain point, it has to be an equation. At a certain point, you have to go, well, we are doing probably pretty horrible things to a lot of creatures that can feel.
Yep.
In order to save a whole lot of human beings, or at least improve the lives of a whole lot of human beings. And that ultimately, like, I don't know where that line is. I don't know where I stand on what's acceptable and what's not. I do agree with you, though. I think on a certain level, it's acceptable, right? I'm in favor of saving human lives by sacrificing animal lives. I think that is something that I'm okay with on a certain level. But it's not easy. It's not without some sense of remorse, you know, or reluctance.
And it's one of those things that I'm glad I'm not one of the people that has to think about this for their job every day and make that decision every day. Because I know it can't be easy. It can't be easy. Thank you, of course, to Superstar Z Synergy Mansfield, who as always is just lighting up that science news channel in the Discord. We've got a lot of good stuff in there, a lot of wonderful people there. If you want to join the Discord is just it's just basically like a place where we all hang out and we chat about different things. We've got different chat rooms for all kinds of different things in there, not just episode discussions or science news, but all kinds of different subjects that people, that your average human being is interested in from what I've heard about human beings.
Yeah. Basically, our research into human beings results in the various rooms. We got chat rooms. Maybe we should have a Pratt room where we just talk about Chris Pratt movies. Who knows? That could happen.
It's just gonna be me dunking on Chris Pratt over and over again.
Yeah.
I got a weird feeling about Chris Pratt. That's all I'm going to say.
Right.
If you'd like to share your weird feelings about Chris Pratt or anything else that's going on with other concerned citizens, as well as potentially get access to bonus videos and all kinds of extra content dating all the way back to the beginning of this show, you can check out patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. Discord access starts at just $1 a month, and
cheap.
Other benefits go from there. I'm telling you, it's great, and it's the only way that we currently monetize and support the show, which is a sizable part of our part-time income right now. So we really appreciate all of your help.
Thank you. Anthony, we've talked a number of times, I believe, over the history of this show.
I find it pleasant sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. We've talked about the High Seas complex, the Hawaiian space
where they make
exploration.
the juice boxes.
Yeah, it's a fascinating complex. They have orange there.
It's like a Wonka
fruit punch. Yeah,
they make the ecto cooler, and it's a room full of ghosts.
That's what they need. How else are you going to get ecto juice? You know,
that's the only place you can get ecto juice. No, if I remember correctly, this is the place in Hawaii that's like a fake Mars colony.
Exactly. The Hawaiian Space Exploration Analog and Simulation Complex, High Seas for short. It is.
God, I love how far people will go out of their way to make a fucking acronym.
Right?
I love it.
It's admirable. I love it.
I really love it.
Admirable. A dominant. No, I'm not going to try.
No, go for it. Go for it. M. Give me M.
Milestone. I don't know. Okay, so this thing is 8,200 feet above sea level on the Mauna Loa mountain range on the Big Island of Hawaii. It is volcanic rock, super harsh environment. This 1,200 square foot dome that they built there.
You got to walk at least a quarter mile to get a shaved ice.
Oh, you know what? And in Hawaii, that's
a
very
long
far.
distance in Hawaii to go for a shaved ice.
Yeah, usually you can get one every 15 feet, but no.
You want to
not
dude?
here.
You can't even. Don't talk to me. You got to get into a car to get a Spam Musubi from that complex.
What?
Yeah.
And your car is probably a Mars rover, you know?
My other car is a Mars rover.
Yeah.
My other car is an honor student at Mars Rover School. What?
We've talked about these missions that they've done inside this complex, this dome, this 1,200 square foot dome. Very small, but it is there to simulate long-term moon missions, long-term Mars missions. It's there to determine the viability of keeping people isolated, how they'll behave, how they can manage resources. And there's been a number of different long-term, up to a year, people have spent completely isolated inside a 1,200 square foot dome on this volcanic rock face. It's pretty cool. They've done, like 7, 8, 9 missions here.
I used to think that sounded impressive, Jeff, until the
COVID.
pandemic.
Yeah.
And I was like, they get to see 6 other people. Do they know how lucky they are?
Yeah.
Do they
That's
understand
funny.
how lucky they are to see 6 other people? I spent a year seeing literally 2 people, and only
Yeah.
sometimes.
And one of them was a dog.
One of them was a dog,
Yeah.
and I'm better than him. I'm better than every dog.
Well, we got a story here from Marie Claire magazine, actually, that was posted on our Discord.
The leader in scientific news, Marie Claire.
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating story, though. This was posted by Jackie B in our Discord. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Jackie. I
and
believe
it
a
is
first
about-
timer.
Yeah, it is about a recently concluded mission at the High Seas complex that was all women, an all-women mission. And the purpose of this,
Oh my God! Did it go off without any hitches?
Well, we're going to get into it. But
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, here we are. You know, we talk about things we're wildly unqualified to talk about a lot on this show. And now we're
almost
going to wade
exclusively.
into, we're going to wade into another area that 2 dudes are going to talk about an all-female mission to Mars.
Can't wait for 2 cis white men to discuss this science thing that's entirely about gender. This is going to go super well for us. I'm glad it was decided. We're gonna we definitely have very good and interesting things to say.
Hot take.
Hold on
Here
while
they
we
come.
mansplain space exploration to you.
I find this fascinating. So the idea behind this all-women mission, a simulated mission to Mars, is to test the viability of doing something like this for real by having perhaps the first manned mission to Mars be a womanned mission to Mars. And the idea behind it is practical, but also, I think, really interesting. On the surface level, there is the observation that on average, women are smaller, consume less resources, breathe less than men. They're just more efficient on a mission that would require extreme efficiency to get to Mars.
Interesting. Okay.
Right? Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's really cool. So they say women generally eat and drink less than men, often weigh less, and therefore consume less oxygen. So there is this feeling that sending men is just poor planning because on average we're just inefficient.
We use too much stuff.
Yeah. I mean, this is
That's
like
good.
I guess we could send a bunch of jockeys, like horse jockeys.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm a little guy. Send me. I'm small.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But so that was this NASA scientist, Jeffrey Landis, is the sort of the guy that is interviewed in this story, and I guess he has helped organize this. But the women involved are all really interesting people, including the leader of the expedition, the commander, I guess you would say, has done like 6 of these. She's
wow.
like amazing. And They interview her about. So this is just concluded. They did, I think, 8 months in the simulation in the site in Hawaii,
Okay.
and they say so. Of course, the physical stuff is significant: lower mass, less volume, proportionally less consumables.
We've talked about this before, where every gram of stuff that we send into space has to be accounted for, because every gram costs an unacceptable amount in fuel, honestly,
Yes.
and in
Yes.
oxygen and in space for breathable air, which is why most astronauts, when they're told they can go up, I think they're allowed like one personal item, and it has to fit within like a very tiny space, which is why like Chris Hadfield very famously had a ukulele, which was like one of the biggest
Right.
things you could bring, you know?
Yeah. It's really interesting. I mean, we've talked about going to Mars frequently on the show, but it bears repeating that the fuel requirement to get that far is astronomical. Like it really is. Most of the mass of the spaceship that will take people there will be fuel. And even if you're just going one way, you know, if you're not even planning to come back, it's still going to take a massive amount of fuel. I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson make a really interesting example.
Oh, really?
on a
Because these days he
podcast.
usually just posts insufferable tweets.
Well, this one was fascinating.
This was classic Tyson. This wasn't new Tyson.
Yeah, this was Science Tyson. I'll do it to you and see. Maybe you've heard it, so maybe you already know. But he said, so if you have like a globe, like a one of those plastic globes you would find in a school classroom, you know.
Yeah.
So you're thinking that kind of size of
Right.
the Earth, a globe, and you think about where the International Space Station is in relationship to the globe. Like, how far off the surface of the globe would you think the International Space Station is?
Oh, it's barely, isn't it? It's like a centimeter or something, or even less.
Yeah, most people say about a foot. Like, that's what people's estimate is, like how far it is. Off
No.
yeah,
Good
most people
God.
say about a foot.
You'd be unmoored, floating through the
Right.
fucking vastness of space.
The actual truth is at that proportion, you're 3/8 of an inch away from the surface of the globe. That's where the International Space Station sits in relation on that scale, right? So Mars. Now, where's Mars in relation to that scale?
Oh, it's not in the room.
No, it's a mile away.
Yeah.
A mile from the globe.
And it takes
So the-
an insane amount of fuel just to get out of the atmosphere and to the space station.
Right.
You've seen that
Exactly.
we all know about those thrusters that are on the sides of the rockets that like fall off, and those are just full of fuel. Those are just death bombs.
Exactly. So any way you can reduce your mass, you reduce the requirements of what's on the ship, they're looking at it, right? If you're actually talking about a manned or womaned Mars mission, you got to take all of this stuff into account. So that is the baseline of like, okay, smaller people who require less resources seems really good. The
Okay,
next
but now
level,
let's get into the social interaction and
yes.
all of the day-to-day that comes with having an entirely a crew that all presents as the same gender.
Right. So that is the next level. That's really what this mission on the high seas was testing, was the sort of sociological aspect of it. Now, their theory was that women, an all-woman crew, might have better interpersonal skills, better dynamic interpersonally. They would be less confrontational, solve problems a little more cooperatively than men.
I think that's
And-
such a generalization, though. I don't like to generalize. I don't want to generalize like either gender. I mean, I do know,
Sure.
like, sure. I mean, like, yes, there is a natural, or whether it's cultural, whether we create it or whatever. I mean, obviously, men are sort of thought of as being more competitive, more confrontational, things like that. But like, some people. There are some men that get along better and easier with a team of women. There are some women that are going to get along better and easier with a team of men. You know?
And I feel like anybody that's in this kind of extreme situation is going to probably want to be cooperative just by the nature of how life and death a situation this would be. So I don't know.
Yeah, but everybody's also going to be a little bit on edge though too. because of
that's
that.
probably
you
true.
know?
So anyway, the commander of this expedition, Mikhaila Musilova, who's a PhD and a director at High Seas. I said she's done a number of these. I should have gotten the number correctly before I started reading. 30 simulated explorations. It's just an
and these are all
insane
and these
number.
are all how long? Like how long was this one?
This was 8 months. So, but they vary in length, right? There's some of them are shorter, some are longer.
I wanna talk to Mikhaila though.
Right?
'Cause,
She
like-
sounds fascinating.
Because 30 of them, like, I mean, I know you're the director of the facility, but there's something about you that makes you want to be in this specific. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Totally.
you could direct the facility, but put somebody else into the experiments. But you want to be there, and there's something fascinating about that psychology of
Yeah.
wanting to be part of these isolation experiments.
Well, she's commanded both this all-woman crew and co-ed missions, and she basically said, like, there's no difference in efficiency, right? We're not. It's like just because it was all women doesn't mean we're like, more efficient than the men as far as day-to-day activities.
Right.
But she said, "quote These women came together and shared more quickly than co-ed crews I commanded. There was a quicker bond between them." She said, all male crews typically focused on direct problem solving and are more hands-on, but the women bonded more quickly and worked better as a unit faster. So that's kind of interesting. It's anecdotal, of course.
It's
but,
a Chris Pratt versus a Bryce Dallas Howard situation.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to bet on Bryce Dallas Howard, you know?
Yeah. She ran through that entire movie in heels for real, and that was her idea. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did know that. I did read that. The most interesting thing about that movie, in fact, including the movie itself.
But now imagine they had given that girl dinosaur powers.
Now I'm in.
Now what's
Now
the
I'm in.
what's the most interesting thing about that movie, Jeff?
Dinosaur powers, of course. And the
Of
third act
course.
where she gets to use them. Yeah.
Do you remember the part of the movie where they go into a dinosaur dungeon for dinosaurs, and it's a weird underground dinosaur dungeon where they're selling off dinosaurs?
No, I don't remember
In the
that.
second
But
one?
Wasn't there a movie where a girl used her gymnastics powers to fight dinosaurs?
Now that was Jurassic Park 2: The Lost World, which featured Ian Malcolm and his daughter, who was a
Right.
gymnast, and she
Yeah,
did
and
swing
she-
around. She swung around a bar and kicked a raptor in the chest.
Yeah, as you do.
That was a
'cause you have
good.
gymnastic
That was a
powers.
good film.
Yeah,
Even though it glorified
Gymnasts.
gymnasts
Ugh,
who are
so,
they're just like, I'm a gymnast. I'm gonna kick
so
a dinosaur.
look at me.
That wouldn't work in real life, gymnast.
Yeah,
We got to stop making gymnasts into heroes. They're
Really?
idiots.
they're dumb.
They're the worst
Anyway.
people. They're slightly worse than astronauts, but just slightly. Where do you put these pretend astronauts, Jeff?
I think they're
Careful
pretty...
because they're women, so you might be sexist.
I think what they're doing here is pretty rad. So hidden in this article,
You should hear him
I
off
think.
mic.
Yeah, I'm a complete. The hidden in this article actually is what I think is much more interesting even than this idea of male versus female dynamic on the mission, because the secondary experiment that they did here with regard to the composition of the team was that they tried using people that weren't just STEM sourced. They weren't just scientists, mathematicians,
Just regular ass
engineers.
dummies like us.
Well, no, they didn't go that low. They're not willing to use us.
I thought
even
maybe I had a
even though
chance.
even we could do some sort of bosom buddies type shenanigans and try to insinuate ourselves into the all woman.
Kids,
Astronaut
ask your
crew.
parents about bosom buddies. Starring
By the way-
Oscar-winning actor Thomas Hanks.
I'd love to see our pitch session in the year of our Lord 2021 of us trying
For
to pitch
bosom
the
buddies?
bosom buddies in space.
I'll give you $50 if you try to pitch Soul Man right now. I'll give
And
you
all
I'll
fa-
give you $50 if you try to pitch Soul Man to any studio right now.
No, it's an all-female. They decided to do an all-female first mission to Mars, but two diminutive Italian boys try to insinuate their way onto the Mars mission by dressing up as ladies. Let's see how long they can last.
This is Biodome. You're talking about Biodome. You're talking about the Pauly Shore film Biodome.
Sexist Biodome.
No, that's just Biodome.
Oh, I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen that one.
Hey, everybody, go watch a movie called Biodome, where two idiot stoners sneak into an experiment like this high seas experiment, and they're locked in a biodome with actual scientists for over a year. It's a good film.
I think we all learned something at the end of that movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the actual the hilarious
Pauly Shore
thing
with dinosaur powers.
What?
Think about that.
He wheezes the juice with his massive velociraptor claws?
Yeah. Cuts right into the juice. Wheezes the hell out of it on a level we haven't seen before with his talons.
Buddy. No, they instead of just having it be these super awesome PhDs, they included some musicians and artists. They had
keep it interesting. Start a guitar circle.
Exactly.
Maybe a little arts and crafts. Don't go crazy.
They had Chelsea God, who is a space and science writer and also a musician. Dr. Brandy Nunez, who's a microbiologist and veterinarian, but also a musician. Get this, Anthony. Get this. They also included Beth Mund, science communicator and podcast host.
Whoa, Beth, you did it.
So, we got a chance, buddy. We got a chance.
To be fair, all of them were still doctors except for Beth.
That's true. There's Amanda Knutson, who is an active duty Air Force member who calls herself Astronaut Hopeful on Instagram, which is pretty cool.
I hope so for her too.
And Rochelle Gribble, who is an artist, curator, and gallerist.
Wow. Hell yeah. See, this is what we're talking about. Because you can't just... Look, it's obviously going to be all work all the time. And even those artists need to be trained to where they can do a certain amount of work. If this is a colonization mission, if this is a long-term space mission, they need to be able to be trained to do things on the ship and in the colony that are useful, right? But at the same time, like, yeah, man, you need to not go cuckoo bananas up there.
Well, that's what they did during this 8-month stay. The podcaster created
just annoyed everybody. Just fucking annoyed everyone.
Hilarious hour-long shows, and then just took the rest of the week off. You know, just did 1 hour of work a week.
Everything was a bit all the time with this person. They just it's cool. The mics are off. The mics are off, Beth. Not everything has to be a funny observation, Beth. Save some of them. Not everything's gold.
All she did is did 1 hour of work a week and then asked everybody for money.
Yeah. Patreon.com/wehaveconcerns.
And then Gribble, the gallerist, she created works of art while they were there. They actually created a sense of community and sort of home life in this simulator.
You gotta have that. I think that's something that we've all learned over these last 18 months. Like, genuinely, I started off joking about this, but we all realized how much we need those healthy, frivolous, quote unquote, frivolous interactions. Like, we're built for that.
Yeah, she said when they were interviewed, they said that the art-heavy mission challenged the concept of who can head to space. And, quote, simulations like this give us a chance to think about what other professions, like artists, bring to the mix when locked down together. The idea is to explore what advantages different skill mixes bring to a crew to see what works the best.
She went on to say the podcaster added nothing. One thing we learned is that the podcaster adds nothing. So we probably won't do a podcaster again. But the real artists who actually make things were very, very valuable.
Yeah, we jettisoned the podcaster into space. It wasn't actual space. She just had to leave and walk across.
We sent her out for shaved ice. And she was like, is this cool? Are we allowed to do this in the experiment? And we were like, yeah. And then when she came back, we pretended the doors were locked and they only open once every 24 hours for safety because we just needed a day.
Podcaster doesn't know any better, right? She's not.
She's just a dumb podcaster.
Barely even researched any of the information she needed to do her job.
Probably had it all up in front of her during the interview. They're like, tell me what you know about NASA. And she literally just opened up a laptop off frame about NASA and read from it. Can you believe that shit?
So lazy. It's such a poor way to even go about things.
Oh my God, are we done dunking on ourselves?
Anyway, the I think the net takeaway from this with the all women crew and the artists is what they basically came away with is that they wanted to show different kinds of people that they can all aspire to be a part of something like this, and giving young girls this a way to see themselves as space explorers, and also people who aren't necessarily,
representation like that is important.
Yeah.
But also, I think studying these interpersonal dynamics is important, right? Because we've talked about this sort of thing before, where so much of what we think about as fact is actually assumption, and so this idea of like, oh, having all of one gender on this mission will probably make things a little easier, or will probably make things have less friction. And it's like, we do need to challenge that too, because that is a generalization of both genders. And we need to make sure that like if we say something like that on a scientific level, we need to be able to back it up.
Yeah.
Colloquially, it doesn't matter. Colloquially, you can be like, man, I wish it was all dudes out here. It'd be so much, or I wish if this was all women, it would run smoother. Like, colloquially, go ahead and say it. But we need to understand that we haven't actually proved it.
Right. And also, I mean, this is how we create an all-woman super colony on Mars that no longer needs men, right? Isn't there an episode of Star Trek where they find that?
Star Trek, Futurama,
Lesbos,
basically all pulp sci-fi, really.
Yeah,
has the space Amazon warrior women. Yeah,
yeah. This is they become a super colony of ultra smart, ultra artistic, the utopian society that we all dreamed of because
right. But then one dude comes in there, and it's like one Shatner gets in there into the mix, and they all want to bone him because he's so hot and he's a man, and they need to.
That's where they came up with the phrase "Don't shat where you eat," because it messes everything up.
If you've seen a story like this that you'd like to see on the show, remember that there are multiple ways to let us know. Obviously, we talked about the Discord, and we would love to have you. Patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. But also, you can send them in via email, wehaveconcernshow@gmail.com. We also have a subreddit, wehaveconcerns.reddit.com.
Yeah. And we appreciate Jackie B sending in this story. You can be just like Jackie and send in stories yourself. You can also get bonus content. There's extra bits of the show, including the beginning that you only hear the end of. You get that every single week at a certain level of Patreon support. Check it out. There's all kinds of cool goodies over at patreon.com/wehaveconcerns.